Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner. It is Friday the 24th of May. This technical update today will have a little bit of a revival. We will look at Nvidia once again. I know we did yesterday, but after the move yesterday, I think we should have a little bit of talk about it. I actually reached my first target at 1048 during the early part of the session, spiked higher, didn't get all the way up to 1100, which was my next target. But what is interesting, it is actually lost steam, as you can see here. We'll zoom in a little. It actually lost steam towards the end of the session. We did close at new time high and all, but it's interesting it lost steam, and it also has an effect, or had an effect, on the indices. We're going to look at that in a minute. However, we are in an uptrend. Nvidia could move higher, but I think we will see some weakness coming in here. Maybe the next going into next week. So one should keep an eye on. If Nvidia is closing the gap that was created yesterday, that means it has to close below 954.60. Well, then this uptrend has been cancelled. So let's see here the next couple of days. That's going to be interesting. It is not unlikely it could slide back to 974, but let's see. I'm not quite sure what will happen, but keep an eye on it. It was a little bit weak towards the end. Looking at the S&P 500, that was really big bearish engulfing. You can see that the bears took control almost immediately from the get-go and kept it throughout the session, actually engulfing several days of trading, almost also this one. So a big outside day or a bearish engulfing, that is a top and reversal pattern. If you've seen one, that's really big. So I think we'll see a correction. Is that why we sell in May and go away? I'm not quite sure yet, but definitely something to keep an eye on. We could slide back to around 5,200 in going into next week. Nasdaq also, it didn't really, well, take out that one, but it didn't take out that one, so maybe not so much, and that is Nvidia's weighing a little bit heavier on Nasdaq 100, but still massive sell-off where you have sellers taking control immediately and just selling throughout the session, and that is a really bad sign. We're still having RSI positive sentiments, of course, and there's no divergence, so that's why I'm a little bit unsure how to read it at the moment, but I think we could see a setback here going into next week. Maybe it can hold on a little bit, and then in June can be quite bearish. So keep an eye on those levels here. If it moves below 18,464, well, then we could see a further sell-off down to around 18,168. The European markets, we have, that is acting up a little bit there. Now here we are. All right, so very close. I think we will retrace to the 61.8 at 4,971 on the Eurostoxx 50. Could dip lower, but if it takes out that, well, then there's a potential down to the 4,900 once again. Really strong support there, but we are still above the cloud. But I think we'll dip to that level 4,971 at least. DAX also correction after almost reaching the 138.2 projection. 18,407, I think that is minimum. We are going to look at that, possibly all the way down to 18,000, around 200, 250, maybe dipping a little bit lower. But we have the 55 moving average coming up, giving some support there. So it's not all done and dusted, but a correction is in the card, it seems. AX reached the target we talked about, 917 and a little bit higher. Gapping lower today, and I think we will also see a correction unfolding here over the next couple of days. But in general, AX is one of the stronger looking markets, but it could slide lower towards the 900, possibly 895. If it closes the gap from this morning and takes out that candle from yesterday, well, then we are looking at 930. CAC 40, the weakest of them. after it got rejected at the previous all-time high, so couldn't really move higher there. Currently trading at the 61.8 retracement at 8,042. If it drops below, well, or takes it out, well, then we are looking at 7,983, possibly all the way down to around 7,900. But let's see if it can bounce here. But it is at a crossing point at the moment, or inflection point here that should be observed really. If it takes out to the upside, the level around 8,135, well, then the uptrend will resume. But at the moment, it is looking fairly weak. The Swiss market also reached within few Swiss francs the 12,056 to 138.2 projection. Correction down to 11.8, 11.720 is in the cards. Euro dollar is sliding lower again, and 38.2 correction at 107.20. 107.82, sorry, and the upper part of the cloud here, and the we have all the moving averages coming up here, and more or less moving sideways. The 55, the 100, the 200, the 100 is holding up a little bit, but I think we will see it sliding lower there, and then it could take off again. We are still in a positive sentiment, and there's no divergence indicating we should see a euro dollar moving higher after this correction that is currently all unfolding. Cable that has been weak around 127. Yes, 127.10. It did close above, but now it's sliding back below. But I think it will hover around that. I don't think we will see a sell-off down to 126 and the 38.2 retracement at the upper part of cloud. I'm not quite sure we'll see that. But again, be careful. It could occur, but we are in an uptrend. No divergence. We should see it pushing higher towards 28, maybe even higher. But be aware if they're really starting to push on the sell button here, then we could see a dip down to 126. So it's a little bit indecisive at the moment. Dollar yen seems to have a problem here at the 61.8 at 157.05. I do believe we will see it up to 158.5 around that level, the 786 retracement and the higher close over here. So it is supported by the RSI. There's in positive sentiment. There's no divergence. We should actually see dollar yen pushing above 158.5, but it seems to be struggling a little bit. Euro yen at the 170 level, which is the 786 retracement that we talked about. I think it will push through. Now we do have divergence. This peak here is lower than this one, and actually we had a higher close than over here, but I think we will still push higher. If it can take out the candle from yesterday, the peak from yesterday, which is just 170.33, well, then we have a move up to around 171.70, possibly even higher. But be aware if a little bit of correction could occur. 167.5, there is some support around there. Also yen. And then maybe that is the canary in the coal mine, because Aussie yen is sliding lower after it was actually above the 786 retracement and above 104, but key support at 102.80. If it breaks below that, well, then we are looking at 101.69. If it takes out the 104.57 here, well, then we are looking above 105. Sterling yen in a steep rising trend line after this bullish engulfing there. I think we will reach the previous peak around 200.65, but it looks a little bit stressed at the moment. I would say we have RSI divergence building up, so look out for correction there, but I don't have a top and reversal pattern in place. Aussie dollar, I think we'll see a test of the 65.80 level, possibly down to 65.58 before uptrend is likely to resume, supported by the bullish RSI. Dollar Canada broke its upper falling trend line in this falling channel-like pattern here, reached the 61.8 retracement. I think we will see a push up towards previous peak. Excuse me. if we get RSI back above 60, it is already still in positive sentiment, but if it does get back above 60, well, then it will support further upside potentially, possibly even above this peak here at 138.46. Move to 139 we could see. Euro Swiss really trying to crawl higher towards the par at here at 1, but struggling. But we are in a positive sentiment. There is a bit divergence though, but I think we will slowly push higher. As we can see here on the weekly chart, we are actually at the 786 retracement of this downside correction here. So maybe a little bit of rejection and then the next push higher. But it is a little bit stretched, I would say. So it's struggling. Dollar Swiss has resumed uptrend back above 60 on the RSI, should move higher and test previous peak there. And finally, the dollar index has bounced back above 104.84. Seems to be resuming uptrend, but it's not confirmed yet. We are still in a RSI negative sentiment, so be careful if it starts sliding back here. Well, then we could see a drop to 103.68. It is really hard at the moment because we are actually in confirmed downtrend. It really needs to break back above 105.64 for confirming uptrend. Correction in golds. Reached the cloud. I still think we could see it dipping a little bit lower to the 786 retracement at 23.40. I don't think we will see it down below 22.77. If we do, well, then we are in a bearish trend and bearish sentiment, quite likely with RSI below 40. So keep an eye on those levels. I think it will start bouncing from around either current levels or from around 23.14. But again, keep an eye on it. But we have the 55 moving average giving some support there. Silver trading at the $30 and the 38.2 retracement. If it takes out that, well, then we could be looking at the 61.8 at 28.50 in a deep dip, and I think that will be an exhaustive one, and then we will see a bounce higher. If it bounces here, I mean, I'm still fairly bullish because there's no divergence on the RSI. We should see higher levels on silver after this correction. It's just a question, I think, about how big it will be. Platinum finding some support here at just above 1,000, 1,015, could dip down to just below 1,000, and then I think it will reach turn around, bounce, and then we have a RSI also indicating likely higher levels. WTI testing 76.60. Dipping a little bit below. I think we'll see a drop to around the 75, 74 and a quarter, possibly lower. We are below all moving averages, and we are in a downtrend. More or less the same picture on Brent, of course. Testing key supports here around 71, 70 spot 72. Sorry, 81 and 80 spot 72. Key support. If it does take it out, well, then we're looking at 78, 77. Finally, on the US Treasuries, the 10-year key resistance 453. If it closes above that, well, then we are likely to see a previous peak at 470 and a change being tested. 429 key support. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and nice weekend. Happy trading.